This is a quick video to show you how Revit can create basic roofs and use some of the roof tools. So from the beginning, let's go ahead and pick on the architectural template to start a project, and then we're going to work within these elevation markers. You may have your properties palette over on the left side, so you can hold your left mouse button down and bring that over to the right hand side. I know in our classroom we're using a later version than this one, just by one, but I think that the tools will be very similar. So we'll start by creating walls that go from level 1 to level 2. So we'll go ahead and pick the walls tool. We already talked about walls, so we won't get into a lot of detail with this. That is another different video. So we're in level 1. We want to change the unconnected height to level 2. So we can go height for level 1 that we're in to level 2. And then we're going to just use the generic basic wall 8-inch. And we'll pick on rectangle here under the draw panel. And now we can click a point, pull our mouse across and pick another point. And now what we want to do is create randomly 3 different structures so that we can take a look at creating different roofs. You can then use the escape key once you draw your walls, or you can click on the modify button at the top left corner to cancel out of any commands. You'll know that you're canceled out when you don't see any green in the ribbon. Now if we go to the 3D view, you can click on the icon at the very top left corner that looks like a little house icon. You'll see the different structures that you've created. We're creating a roof. Let's go to level 2, which is the top there of the wall. And if you don't see your walls underneath, you can use underlay in the properties. I see my walls, so I'm good, but in case you had a level that was higher, you may have to use underlay to be able to see the images below your roof. So now we're going to go to roof and roof by footprint. This first roof will be kind of a review from the bigger picture project that we worked on. The check mark in define slope at the top left means that you are creating a side that slopes up. So with the check mark in define slope, we can click on the walls that we want to slope. We're going to change the overhang to 1 or 1 foot. I've just put a 1 in there because Revit recognizes units here in feet. And then the default in the draw panel is to pick walls. So I'm going to get close to my project here. I'm going to see on the outside wall, the dashed line represents the overhang, and I'll click. The triangle represents the side that's going to be sloped, and there's the roof pitch right there. So I'm going to click on this wall and this one, and then I'll take the check mark out of define slope to create a gable end. I can click here and click here, and that's it. This is in sketch mode. We said that anytime you have the big red check and the red X and the green check mark, you are in the sketch mode. And so now that I have the 2 slopes and the 2 straight sides that will be the gable roof, I'll pick the green check mark. Now in this view, level 2, it's going to cut the roof off right here because the view range is only within a specific amount for this view. So if I go over to the 3D view, just to show you what I'm talking about, click on the little house icon here, or go over to the project browser and double click on 3D. In release 19, we do have tabs at the top left. You'll see those on the program that you're using in class. The Revit 19 has these tabs. So in 18 here, we're going to double click on 3D. It brings you back to this drawing, and you then have your gable end. So you can see the whole thing in 3D, but if I double click back over on level 2, you only see part of it because of the view range. So if you wanted to see the whole roof, over in properties for level 2, I'm on level 2 now, so double click on level 2 under floor plans. Be careful that you're not using ceiling plans level 1 and 2. And so we're in level 2, and over on the right hand side, if you scroll down, you'll see view range. Go ahead and click on the edit button, and in here the primary range for the top and the cut plane, those are too short, so I'm just going to type in something larger like 30 for 30 feet for the top and the cut plane for this view range or this primary range. That way we can open up that roof a little bit. I'll pick OK, and see, now I can see the roof all the way through. So now let's double click on the 3D view and just review how we attach these walls. In case they didn't attach, you can select the wall and then pick attach in the ribbon, attach top base, and then select the roof, and it attaches. I'm going to hold my shift key and the wheel of the mouse to move my mouse to the other side or orbit around to the other side. I can click this wall, pick attach, and click on the roof. Also, when you're orbiting, holding your shift key and the wheel of your mouse, you can zero in on one object if you have it selected, and then you start to orbit. It makes it a little bit easier to orbit around an object. Even in the 3D view, if I like to have this as a hip roof instead of a gable, I can double click on the roof and see the sketch mode purple lines. I'm in the sketch mode because I have the X and the green check mark, and I can now select here this side. I can even hold my control key down and select the other one to get both of them, to select both of them, and then put a check mark in define slope. Now I'm going to click in space and see that all 4 sides are going to slope up. I can use the green check mark to see that I have this hip roof. Let's take a look at roof by extrusion. In the architecture tab under the roof icon, we'll find roof by extrusion. Just rest your pointer on that tool and take a look at the picture. It shows that you have a profile, and from that roof profile you're going to have an extrusion to create a mass for your roof. So click on roof by extrusion. You should be asked to pick a plane, so pick OK, and then go close to the outside surface of one of the walls on a different structure and click. And now it's going to ask you what level do you want to put the roof, and it's level 2, so go ahead and pick OK. Now that I'm in the sketch mode, I can draw whatever profile I'd like to draw, and you can use the draw tools here to select an arc or a line. I'm going to use a spline, so click on the spline icon, and then at the top of my wall here I'll just rest my pointer and kind of pull my mouse out from that point so I can start beyond as a overhang. And as I'm clicking, you can hold your shift key and the wheel of your mouse to see that as you're clicking, you're creating this curved spline that goes right over the wall. So you can take it out fairly far here, but you need to then click at the end and then enter or escape out of that so that you have this kind of spline. Sometimes these splines are a little too sharp to create as a roof, so you may have to modify it. If it doesn't work properly, we can pick the green check mark to find out. And so, right. Sometimes if the spline is too sharp in its transitions, you may have to use these small circles to drag the spline out so that it's a little bit smoother. and pick the green check mark and see that you have your roof. Mine was a little bit too curved, and it didn't want to then create that sharpness for that curve. So now I can use these little grips to change the overhang, but you can see that even in the properties you have extrusion start, extrusion end, and if you orbit around you can kind of visually create here how much it extrudes beyond the end walls. Cool, right? So think about all of these different profiles that you can create. You can even double click and just erase this profile and start over with lines or some other form that's going to be used for your extrusion. I'm going to go ahead and pick the green check mark. I'll click in space, and then we can extend the walls. When you put rest your pointer on a wall and press and let go of the tab key, and then click so that you can select all of your walls, pick attach top base, and then pick the roof, and that should then attach all of your walls to that roof by extrusion. So let's take a look at a flat roof, and we can create it either in the floor plan or right here in the 3D view. So I'll go over to roof and roof by footprint. It's asking me which level I want it to go on because I'm in the 3D view. If I wanted to go to the level 2 view, I could do it there too. Let's go ahead and pick yes for level 2. And now we don't want it to slope, so we want to make sure that the check mark's out of defined slope, and we don't want an overhang, so that's going to be 0. And I can just use the rectangle tool in the draw panel to click on this corner, top corner, and bring it over to the other corner to create this kind of box that's inside the wall. Now that's actually at the bottom of it, so when you pick the green check mark, you'll see that the roof is kind of high. So when you pick the green check mark and now you're out of the command, you still have the roof highlighted. Over in properties, we're going to change the base offset from level. We can change that to a -1 or 2 to bring the roof down. I just typed in a -2 and pick apply, and now the roof is down here and nested beyond. So roofs are not generally here flat, so we're going to add a point to the roof so that we can depress it for draining. So click on your roof, and here you have a choice of adding points, but we're going to add a split line. So click on add a split line, and then draw a line that goes right through the middle of your roof here, and you will then be creating these 2 points that you can use to suppress the roof. Use your escape key to get out of the roof command. Click on your roof again, and you'll see these 2 little points that you clicked. Those are called sub-elements. So click on your roof and then pick modify sub-elements. Now I can click right on that little box and change the number to maybe a -6 inches so that it can go down a bit. Click in space and then click on this other box and change that number to a -6 inches. And now we have this roof that's kind of suppressed by 6 inches here on both sides. I can use my escape key to get out of that and know that the roof is sloping to those points. So if you have a roof and you need one side to go up higher, You can click on the corners even. This example is a flat roof, but if I wanted to modify the sub-elements, I could click on the roof and pick modify sub-elements and then pick right inside this box in order to lift or lower the corners of the roof. I'll use the escape key to get out of that. So now I'd like to show you how you can cut off a portion of this roof and replace it with glass so that you can create a sloped glazing skylight or glass roof. So we'll go to the east elevation and find that roof that is your hip roof, and then we're going to create a level that will establish the cutoff. So click the level icon at the top right corner, and then somewhere about 3/4 of the way up on your roof there, we're going to click and pull your mouse to the right and line them up with the levels and click again. So we're creating a level 3 to cut off the roof and create glass above that. So I'll use my escape key. I've got my level 3. So now let's go to the 3D view, select your roof, and go to properties so that you can change your cutoff level from none to level 3. When you do that and pick apply, you'll see that there's kind of a little hole in your roof because you've cut it off at that level. This is different from the view range, which only cuts the view visually and not the roof itself here at this cutoff level. So now we can go to level 3 and create a roof by footprint, which will be glass. We'll go to roof. We're on level 3 now because level 3 is the new level that we created in the elevation, and we used the cutoff level to cut it off. At that level, we'll go to roof by footprint, and this time, instead of using the basic roof generic 12-inch, we're going to go down to the bottom and click sloped glazing. We can change the way that we draw the lines by picking here pick lines, which is right next to pick walls under the draw panel. And let's not forget that this is still a sloped roof, so we want to put the check mark in define slope, and we don't want to offset, so we want to keep that as 0 for the overhang. But now, because I have pick line selected, I can select these 4 lines that make up the opening. They're all going to slope up with the hip roof. I can go ahead and pick the red. I can go ahead and pick the green check mark. And then when you go to the 3D view here, double click, you'll see that the roof is kind of sunken in. And the reason it's sunken in is that the thickness of the roof is larger for the roof itself than it is the glazing. So we have to modify the level to be up a little bit more. First of all, when you're orbiting like this, you can select an object like this wall, and it will give you kind of a better way of orbiting, kind of smoother way, because it focuses in on that object that you have selected. If you don't have that selected, it might throw you into a different way of viewing when you orbit. So I'm going to select this sloped glazing that I created, and over in properties I'm going to change the base offset from to something like 14 inches maybe, and pick apply. So if you look at it, maybe yours might be different because of the angle. I might have to go up even more here. I do. So I'm going to make it 1 foot 4 inches. There you go. 12, 16 inches, 1'4", and now my glass is in line with the roof. And I can see that it's glass if I change my visual display at the bottom left corner from hidden line to shaded. Just click on shaded. When you click on shaded, you can see that that is glass. But it doesn't have any mullions yet. It doesn't have any cuts in it. So in the architecture tab, we'll go to curtain grid. And then if you go close to the edge of the glass, you can here click and create these kind of cuts in the glass randomly wherever you want. You have these kind of witness lines. You can change the location for them if you'd like. We did not yet put mullions on here, so what we're doing is we're cutting the glass. We covered in the walls video creating curtain walls and using this curtain grid. Now we can click on Mulligan in the architecture tab, and I think we should change the size of the mulligan in the properties palette. You can drop this list down and pick 1 inch square, and then pick all grid lines in the ribbon so that you can click right on the frame and get the entire frame here to create mullions. If you get a message, it might be just a matter of mullions lining up or not, and you can ignore it, or you can see where the issue is, where the mullions are lining up. But it looks pretty good. This is sloped glazing. Let's take a look at how to create here a small dormer. The dormer will be a piece of the roof that comes up at an angle. And I know that there are different dormers that would sit back on the roof. This one is a smaller dormer that is at the face of the roof here at the fascia board. There are several types of dormers that we can create, and in the next section I can talk to you about how to create these that are on top of the roof. Right now I'd like to show you how to create one that's in line with the face of the roof. This one here, which is still a dormer, kind of a lifted piece of roof. We're going to cut the roof and then lift it here so that it has a small slope. So back in Revit, we're going to pick one side of this structure that we're working with. We can double click to go back into the roof sketch, and then what we're doing is we're going to split it. We're going to split it so it has 4 lines. 2 will be the lines that will slope up towards the top of the original roof. The other 2 will be the 2 lines that will make up the dormer roof pitch. So here, click on split element, and then I'm going to pick a point for the start of my dormer slope, and then decide on a dimension that could be the same on both sides. So I'll pull my mouse over and click again at 6 feet, let's say, and then come over 6 feet again and click. Use your escape key to get rid of that knife, that little knife icon. So now what do I have? I have 1, 2, 3, 4 lines along this edge. 2 of them are going to slope up to create the dormer. So I'm going to select that small line and take the check mark out of define slope. I'll do the same for this one so that I can control the slope by using a tool called slope arrow. So let's go back. I've got 4 pieces of line here on my sketch. 1, 2, 3, 4. The two outside ones are going to slope up, so they have the little triangle. The two inside lines are not going to slope up because I'm going to control by using sloped arrows which way that they slope. So now I can pick the slope arrow icon and start the arrow right here at the end of my first dormer line and come over to the top right there. Then click on sloped arrow again and click here at the bottom of the dormer slope and go up to the top of the dormer. So again, we're creating this piece that slopes up by using sloped arrows on both sides. And now if I pick the green check mark, you'll see that it's just a little bit too high. You might get a message about it, so I can double click on the arrow again. I double clicked right on the roof again to go back in the sketch mode. And now I'm clicking on the sloped arrow so that in properties I can change the height offset at head. You see how it's 10 feet? So it starts at 0 and goes up 10 feet. So I'd like to maybe change that to 5 feet. And then I'll do the same thing with the other arrow. So click on the other arrow and change the height offset at the head to 5 feet. So these two are both sloping up to 5 feet. I can pick the green check mark, and now I have this kind of small extension that looks like this dormer where the wall kind of extends up into that space as a gable wall. So I can now click on the wall, click on attach, click on the roof, and have the roof attach, or I can now have the wall attached to the roof. So we use sloped arrows to create here a separate piece that slopes up for creating the dormer. Alright, on the other side, I'd like to build an addition. This is the last part of the video. We'll go to the level 1 floor plan so that we can create the addition. We could have did it in the 3D view, but in level 1 I'd like to show you that you can change your underlay in properties in order to see visually the things that are above that level. So in level 1 floor plan, change your underlay, which is in the properties, to level 2 or 3, and then pick apply. Changing it to level 3, I can actually see the roof now and know that I want to create my addition on the other side here from where I put my dormer. Now you can use the wall tool to go draw here additional walls. I'm going to create the height of level 2, and I'm just going to go ahead and create this addition that I'd like to show you how to put a roof on, just like that. But we do need to take this piece of wall out. So again, we can go to modify. Once you create your 3 walls that will be your new addition, you can go to the modify tab and use that same tool, split element, like we used to split the roof, to split here this wall. Once you split the wall, you'll see that it's separate. It's its own piece. You can delete it right out of there if you'd like to do it that way. You can split it by using that little pencil icon or that little X-Acto blade icon to click here, and then select that wall and delete it. Now let's go to level 2 so that we can create the roof. We'll double click on level 2. There's my wall, but this time I'm going to create a roof that's away from the original roof and then later use a tool to join them. So if we go to the Architecture tab and use Roof by Footprint, we can start by picking walls and maybe even create an overhang of 1 foot. The only two here walls that I'd like to slope are the ones on the sides, here and here. I'm going to make this a gable end by taking the check mark out of Define Slope. So now I have the 3 lines that make up the roof in the front here of the addition, but I'd like to just draw a line. Just go ahead and click the line tool. Just draw a line here away from the original roof. I clicked and pulled my mouse down and clicked again, and then escape out of that. So this one does not have a slope. We're going to later join it to the other roof. But we do need to use here in the sketch mode the Trim Extend tool that we started to work with. When you use Trim Extend, you want to select the piece of line that you want to keep. So select here this horizontal line and this vertical line and this horizontal and vertical so that you can have this kind of box. So we have 2 lines that are not sloping and 2 shorter lines that are sloping. I can pick the green check mark and go to the 3D view and see what we created. We created a roof that's independent of the other roof, but in the Modify tab, we're going to use a command called Join Unjoin Roof. If you rest your pointer on that icon, you can see that by selecting the back of the roof and selecting the roof that you want to extend it to, you can extend or join this roof. So I'm going to select Join Unjoin Roof, click right on the line that's at the back of this smaller roof, and then click on the face of, or the outline of the face of the roof you want to extend it to. You see how this roof then extends to the other roof. Use your escape key to get out of that tool. Now, the original roof that I used here was a 12-inch. So the smaller roof is the basic roof, roof 1. So I'm going to change this so that it is the same. This is the basic roof, generic 12-inch. I'm going to click on this smaller roof and change it to generic 12-inch. If I click in space, you can see that now the fascia board lines up because they're both the same thickness. I can select this front wall and pick Attach Top Base in the ribbon and then select the roof so that the wall attaches to the roof. Now in this case it didn't take the side walls, so I can do the same thing. I'm going to select the side wall, pick Attach Top Base, and then select the roof. And I believe I might have to do the same with this one. Nope, this one actually did go underneath, and it looks like it went all the way up. Okay, so these are several tools that we can use to create different roofs. And the last thing that I'd like to show you is in the Architecture tab, you can use tools like Soffit, Fascia, and Gutter to select the fascia board. So let's just go ahead and put a fascia board on there. You can select fascia, go close to the roof and click on the top line of the edge of the roof and you'll see that there's a piece of board that's placed. You can put one here on this side all the way around if you'd like. It would be best too. This is a profile that's 1x9, so it doesn't cover the whole 12-inch roof, but the idea being that it's easy enough to go to the roof fascia and just click on the roof edge in order to place it. The same goes for the gutter. If you look at the preview, just rest your pointer here on gutter, same thing. You can place gutters also. And the last thing I'd like to show you as a reminder is that we can put material on this roof. So we'll select our roof, and then in the basic roof generic 12-inch, we can pick edit type. Now, we talked about duplicating the roof in case you didn't want to change the basic roof generic 12-inch, so you can pick duplicate and type in here the type of roof that it might be, or just put here my roof so that you know that it's your design, and pick OK, and pick the edit button here next to structure, and then under material for by category, this roof, I can click on that small icon right next to by category. It should bring you the material browser. Now in here, I know this is a different topic, but I think it's important to know that you can bring in materials for your roof shingles or roof membrane, whatever you want to use for your roof material. I think because it's not loaded in here, I'm going to go ahead, and I think this is good practice for you, to click on the little gray ball at the bottom left corner and pick create new material, and then right click with your pointer on default new material and pick rename. And now this is going to be your roof material, so I'm just going to create it as roof material, whatever you decide to use as that name, and then click the icon next to the gray ball, the icon that's the white box with the blue top there to it, and under appearance library, you may have to stretch this dialog box out a little bit. There's a folder called appearance library, and under that you can go to the subcategory called roofing. In here you'll have all these different roofs that you can use, and they look very real when we look at the realistic view. So I'm just going to go ahead and pick one of these shingles. I can double click on it and close out of the asset browser and see that your shingle appears in the appearance tab. It should be good, so you can go ahead and pick OK, and OK again, and OK to bring you back to the drawing. Now it might not look like anything's happened, but if you change your visual display at the bottom left corner to realistic, you'll see in the realistic view that you have here this shingle on your roof, and it starts to look a little bit real when we start to work with materials on walls and everything else. You can create a very nice rendering that we'll be getting to. Okay. So in summary, we looked at roof by footprint, creating hip roofs and gable roofs, knowing about the little triangle for your sloped roof, and roof by extrusion, which gives you here this profile. We also created a flat roof and used sub-elements to change the level of those sub-elements, and then We created a dormer by using sloped arrows and added an addition and used unjoin roof. Also a sloped glazing right there. So we created a glass kind of skylight up at the top. Okay, those are the basics. We will, when we look at mass modeling, we're going to create a mass model and then be able to apply a roof to that massing. Another way of creating a unique roof. If you need any help, let me know. Hopefully these will give you some of the tools that you'll need to work with roofs.